Hello everyone, I am Amita from NourishDoc, a platform for natural and holistic therapies. In our session today, we are going to be talking about fibromyalgia. That is something we will be discussing with Amanda. Amanda is a registered nutritionist. She works with women who have fibromyalgia. So the things like that, what we'll be talking about is what exactly is fibromyalgia, right? That's one of the questions a lot of people have. Okay, so I'm having actually problem with adding. All right, so Amanda should be 1 second. And the things that we'll be talking about is the role of diet, right? The diet, how the diet can control. Hi there, Amanda. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. I'm so glad that we figured out how to join
I
Instagram
figured
Live.
yeah, I've never done Instagram, so it's all new.
That's okay. So I was just telling our viewers, we are going to be talking about the role of diet in control of fibromyalgia. That is the topic. And Amanda is a nutritionist. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself because you help women who are suffering with fibromyalgia with diet and nutrition, right?
Yeah, so I was actually diagnosed with fibromyalgia over 10 years ago in
Oh,
October of 2010. And I was actually 20 years old when I was diagnosed, and I just turned 31 this year. And it's very hard to get diagnosed with fibromyalgia. They don't know exactly. It takes a while to get diagnosed with fibromyalgia, but luckily I was diagnosed so young. But I I completed high school and I decided to do personal training. I did a 6 months course at that time. And then afterwards, I all of a sudden I was crashing. I was in
yeah.
so much pain. I couldn't even get off the couch. I couldn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't know what to do. And so they just said, they didn't say anything. And I had actually been a very sick child.
Yeah.
I was born I was born 6 weeks early. I would be sick every 4 to 6 weeks. I was on the back. I would get the vaccines. I would get the antibiotics. I would get all of that. And they just didn't know what to do. And in 2010, when I went to one of the top rheumatology places in Mesa, Arizona, and they said, okay, you have fibromyalgia. Here are your two choices. And the two choices were the medication. I was on Cymbalta. I couldn't stay on it. I don't do well with medications. And I was like, I'm not going to stay on medications for the rest of my life. And the second option was, of course, physical therapy. And I've never been overweight. And it's not an illness where it's not an overweight issue. So I think they just say, oh, go to the physical therapist. And so I did the swimming, I did the weight training, and I would come out and I would crash, and I was so exhausted. I was crying in pain. And so it's like, what do you do next? And the next step, we asked the rheumatology place, we asked, oh, should we do like pain management? Because there was a pain management place right next door. And they're like, okay, they don't, they're not going to tell you no. So did a consultation. They said you have to do 3 treatments. And so when people are diagnosed with fibromyalgia, they usually touch your neck, your back, your legs, and it's like they call it a trigger point test, right? And then they'll say, oh, you have 13 of the 18 if you're in like winching and you're in pain and stuff. So for me, with the pain management, they would draw circles all down your back. You would be like in a hospital gown. And they roll you down and they shoot this huge needle into all of those trigger points, which
Okay.
was It was the most excruciating thing I've ever been through. I don't know why people recommend doing it. I don't know why it's supposed to help you. And
Yep.
I was like, after your blood sugar would crash, so then you would have to have the cookies, the juice, right? And so I was like, this is stupid. I'm not going to do this for a third time. I did 2 of them. And I would come out, I was crying. And so it's a very slippery slope because you don't know what to do and stuff. So eventually, in 2011, my grandmother actually found a wellness chiropractor 10 minutes away, and he said to her, if she has fibromyalgia at the age of 20 years old, she's been very, very sick for a very, very long time. And my grandmother had done nursing and stuff. So she really thought that he got it. And so that started the path of doing elimination diet, he did saliva, he did stool testing, he did all of that. Found out I actually have 2 genes predisposed me to the gluten sensitivity. It was the highest in his practice at the time. I actually have a soy, a dairy, and egg. And so it's all just a process and a learning journey and stuff. But that started my journey to getting better. And then I realized there's not a lot of people out there that are helping people with fibromyalgia the natural way.
Mm-hmm.
We just get told, oh, it's all in our head. You just have to deal with it. Our families and friends don't understand, and they can't support us. And so I just want to get my message out there that there is hope, and I want to be able to support as many people as possible.
I think it's a very beautiful story, and explain us. Yeah, it's very touching, and I'm amazed that how you've been able to come out of it, right? And you're helping others. That's what is really amazing and powerful. So tell us, like, what you felt. What were the symptoms on when you were having all these issues, and you said that these big needles when they were trying to poke in your body at the back. Like, what was a single day like, from a symptoms point of view, someone who's suffering from fibromyalgia?
Yeah, so I always tell people with fibromyalgia that if you really have fibromyalgia, unless you like make some drastic changes, you're pretty much in pain, excruciating pain. I remember taking a shower, and just taking a shower was excruciating, like so excruciating. And then it just wipes you out. And so a lot of times people with fibromyalgia, they're so exhausted and stuff. And then you have the fatigue, the pain. And then of course people always tell me they're not sleeping. They're not getting that restorative sleep. They feel like a truck has hit them when they get up. Either they're not falling asleep, staying asleep, getting enough sleep. You struggle with low mood, restless leg syndrome. It's a lot of different things.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So basically you cannot function. That's what I'm hearing, right?
You can't function. You can't have a normal life. And a lot of times I think people with fibromyalgia, they just push through it because they get tired of telling people, oh, I feel so horrible, and nobody is there to help them. Or they're tired of going from like doctor to doctor.
That's not a good life at all. So let's talk about the role of diet, right? When you went to the chiropractor and you were talking about the elimination diet, and then you are a nutritionist. You went back to, you went to school to become a nutritionist, and now you're helping women with fibromyalgia. So let's come to the health part now. The role of diet and the control for fibromyalgia.
I honestly think a lot of people with fibromyalgia suffer with food sensitivities and stuff, but I think the problem is we don't stick to it. I mean, we have this craze right now of go gluten free, But there's a lot of gluten-free products out there right now that are horrible for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people think that gluten-free is the answer, and it might help you feel better. You might have less headaches. Your energy might get better. But I always tell people, one little molecule of gluten can stay in your body for up to weeks, up to months. So if you're really gonna go strict and go off the gluten, you should at least do it for like at least a month or more. And going gluten-free might not be the full answer. You might have to do what I had to do, and I had to actually do a full elimination diet, which is cutting out all the foods that you could be allergic to, not just gluten, soy, dairy, eggs, but other foods that you could be allergic to, and slowly adding them back in. But that takes time. And I always tell people it's not the first step I would recommend doing for someone with fibromyalgia, because you have to be very committed. And a lot of times with fibromyalgia, you can't even get off the couch in the beginning.
That's horrible. So let's see. I mean, especially the symptoms that you're describing are so bad. Like, if I'm sitting in the couch, I can't even get up. I mean, I have a mood swing. I have pains all over my body, right? You're saying even if you take a shower, you feel so pain, and you're just basically not functional. So do you also do tests, like a food sensitivity test at the beginning, to figure out what I am going to be, what someone who's suffering from fibromyalgia, what they be sensitive to, what are the deficiencies? How do you start the process? That's the question.
Yeah, so for me, with the food sensitivities thing, I actually do a 90-minute health history. So that sort of tells me like, oh, maybe you might have some food sensitivity issues. And I like to do I want to get to know someone first and stuff and find out their health history. Mm-hmm. Elimination diets can be very, you have to be super motivated. And at that time, I was at that point, I was like, well, it's not going to hurt. It's not, what's the worst that can happen, right? You have to be extremely motivated. And I find people with fibromyalgia, they're not at that point, but I hope eventually we would get to that point. But first we would just start off slowly, changing your breakfast, maybe your lunch, your dinner, and see if you could follow those directions first. And then we would start with, okay, let's go deeper into doing your food.
So what are the common things that you're saying? Gluten, soya, corn. These are some of the culprits, right? That you would, on a high level, recommend someone who's suffering from fibromyalgia to eliminate, and then wait, right, for some time. Is that how you go about?
I would definitely elimination diet. You get rid of all those foods. Corn, soy, eggs, dairy, gluten.
Wow.
I did that. You might be the nightshade vegetables,
okay,
stuff like that.
So a lot of things to eliminate, right?
It's very strict for a lot of people, especially if you're not eating healthy. I don't, as it is, but I think a lot of times people think they'll say to me, well, I'm eating healthy. And I'm like, well, I don't know what exactly that means. I feel like that could be eating healthy could be very different for every single person, right? Yeah. And all our bodies are different. And some people might do perfectly fine eating gluten or dairy. And then some of the people that might just mess with their mood, mess with their energy, mess with everything. So when we say we're eating healthy, we have to be more specific.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So there's a lot of laundry list of things that you talked about as a potential culprit for a fibromyalgia. You talked about gluten, you talked about soy, you talked about dairy, you talked about eggs, right? Then you talk about
Yeah.
corn. I mean, these are the 5 things that I can count right there. And nightshade vegetables as well. So what is left? That's the thing. What can you do? What can you eat?
I always recommend, so for me personally, I like to have protein, vegetables.
Okay.
Fruit. I love fruit. Grains are fine.
Yeah.
I think you could have grains. I think as long as they're not have gluten and everything, brown rice, quinoa, all those type of foods.
Yeah.
I don't want people to think that it's like a permanent thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it scares people off. But you have to realize what are you gaining if you do an elimination diet? Well, you're gaining your health, you're gaining that energy. Maybe you could go back to work. Maybe you could enjoy your kids, your grandkids. So it outweighs what you have to do.
Yes.
I mean, and I still follow I still follow like elimination plan. I don't eat those foods unless once in a while you find out things are in everything.
Yes.
Like soy is in tea. I would never have guessed that 10 years ago, but it's all just a learning process.
Yeah. So, and what about the supplements? I mean, so the nutrition is a big part. We understand, and the elimination diet is one of the things, the main thing that you recommend. And then, so what about the supplements? Do you also recommend some supplements along with the diet?
Yeah, it all depends. Honestly, I think with supplements, it all depends on where someone is. People say to me all the time, they'll say, well, I'm already on supplements. And I'm like, well, do you know why you're taking the supplements? You have to know why you're taking supplements, medications, and you have to track it, or else if you don't track it, you're not going to remember why you're taking that supplement. So one of the biggest supplements is this supplement. It's called ribose, and it's amazing. I recommend it for like fatigue, energy, pain, and stuff, because ribose is it's just a little powder, and it's really easy to do, and you just put it right in your water, and it's something people with fibromyalgia could do because they can't do anything. And studies actually show that average 45% increase in energy after only 3 weeks, and improvement begins at like 12 days with ribose.
Wow.
So it's amazing product. And usually only a 10% improvement for a single nutrient is considered excellent. So this supplement it could be used not just for people with fibromyalgia, it could be used for people with athletes, people with pain, fatigue. So it's just a natural supplement. And I recommend, if you're going to take this supplement, it has to be 5 grams, which is 5,000 milligrams. And I do recommend taking it 3 times a day for the first 3 weeks. And then it could be dropped to twice a week.
Okay. So what I understand is then for anyone who's suffering from fibromyalgia, you will design you'll do a 90-minute evaluation. That's the first step for a nutritionist. And then you might need to run some tests to understand the food sensitivities or some, a person might have. And then the third step would be the elimination diet to whatever has to be eliminated based on the person's history, a personalized history. and then supplementing it with some of the supplements. So that's kind of what the overall idea is, right? For fibromyalgia, someone who's suffering with.
Yeah, I think it might actually be it might be a couple months down the road once with the fibromyalgia after doing with the 90-minute health history. The elimination diet, I think, would probably be most of the time it's like 3-4 months down the road.
Okay.
Because honestly, I want to get people back to getting that restorative sleep first.
Yes.
Before we focus on diet, because diet takes a little more time than people have the energy for in the very beginning.
Okay, but then you have to, I mean, how do you get the energy if you don't start with the diet and the supplements? It all comes in together.
Oh, well, I do start with the ribose first.
I see.
And we do change up your diet a little bit in the beginning. It's just not a huge, like, overhaul. I think a lot of times where you get scared if people say to us, oh, I have to give up my bread, I have to give up my ice cream, I have to give up all this food all at once. So you have to work on your mindset of getting there and stuff, because your mindset probably isn't there in the beginning.
I understand. So the steps would be, the evaluation, and then have some simple supplements, and then slowly you would start the elimination diet according to that, and then in 3 or 4 months the results would be very positive if someone started watching that. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I think this is very useful for anyone who's watching us right now. I know a lot of people tuned in, or you want to watch it afterwards. Amanda, she actually narrated her personal story, how she personally dealt with overcoming fibromyalgia with success. That is what is so fascinating about this particular session, because the expert herself went through the problems, and now she's offering her expertise to other women who are suffering, or other people, I should say, that who are suffering from fibromyalgia. Thank you so much, Amanda, for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. With that, we wrap up the session. Thank you so much, and help us share these sessions. These are very informational, and hopefully, it helps all of you. Thank you.